everybody, and welcome back into the Media Tavern. My name is Eric. This right here is Todd Stanton. Todd, how you doing?
Great. How are you, man?
Doing well, buddy. I'm doing well. Glad to see you again.
Glad to see you.
If you don't know what we do here at the Media Tavern, this is just a breezy place where we talk about whatever we're watching, whatever we're listening to, whatever we're reading, whatever's going on. Todd and I like to talk about stuff, so we figured we'd put together a show and let you in on it.
Yeah, we figure, let us entertain you with our words of wisdom, our logic, and our banter that goes on endlessly. So
yes, we figured why not. So Anyway, Todd, I am digging the shirt you're wearing today. What's going on?
Well, there is a reason. Oddly enough, you and I did not plan this, but you are wearing the rival. I'm wearing a Beatles shirt. It's actually the 1969 rooftop concert shirt. I got this off Amazon. I thought it was pretty cool. I'm
rocking a Rolling Stones shirt here today.
Yeah. So you're wearing the Rolling Stones. So I mean, those are kind of like two band rivals, I guess. I guess in fans' minds, not necessarily. The bands weren't really rivals. In real life, they were friends and all that kind of stuff. But what's your preference? I mean, you can side. It's okay. I know you're a music guy and you travel and tour and you want to act like you don't want to pick sides when it comes to music because all music is equal and blah, blah, blah. Don't give me that. Would you prefer Beatles or Rolling Stones if you had a chance to maybe?
All right. I'm going to give you the unpopular opinion of all time, and that is I love both bands.
God, see, I knew you were going to do that.
I know. I can't help it, dude. I'm not that guy.
Exactly. It's super unpopular.
Because they are so different.
Okay, now I'm going to force you. Here we go. Both bands have come back to life, and you can only go see one. Here is your ticket. Choose your destiny.
Oh, I would definitely go see the Beatles.
There you go. All right. So
because I've already seen the Rolling Stones.
Oh, okay.
Hey, we played the Cavern Club. My band played at the Cavern Club once.
Really?
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, talk to everybody about your band.
I'm in a band called Five Horse Johnson. I play occasionally with a band called Clutch, but Five Horse Johnson is that's my bread and butter. And we've toured the world and done stuff, but we played the Cavern Club once. It was pretty cool.
Five Horse Johnson was your main band, and then Clutch was like I
was just a side guy. I sat in for a couple of years with Clutch. Yeah, Five Horse Johnson. I saw that
you're like lead singing it.
In what?
Clutch.
No. Oh. They have a very popular, famous lead singer named Neil Fallon who needs no help. I just was brought in as a harmonica guy for a couple of years, and I recorded 2 albums with them. Oh. It was pretty awesome. I flew out to LA and recorded at Sound City Studios, which is a really famous studio.
Nice. Yeah.
Got to tour the world with those guys in a bus. And we went to Australia a bunch of times, went all over Europe, went all the United States for a couple of years. It was great. But mainly my band, Five Horse Johnson, was where I came from. I've been doing that for most of my adult life. We started touring Europe back in the turn of the century, and we've toured Europe probably, 20, 30 times at least. Wow. And been from Scandinavia down to you can see Africa. We were down so far in Spain. We've been all through England, all the way over to Croatia, Slovenia, anywhere in between. And we released 8, 9 albums. And I'm the harmonica player and singer. We're like a rough, tough blues band. And we're right here in Toledo, Ohio. And we just started touring and never stopped. And then for a while, I took some time off from that and went out with that band Clutch. And then after I got back from doing that, we had a kid, and I went back to college. And so, I'm still a musician, but I am also a video guy and a whatever else.
A podcaster.
And podcaster, man. Yeah.
Well, that's great, man. That is quite the career to be. I'm sure you're really proud of that. I mean,
it's been great, man. Yeah. I got to do all sorts of cool stuff, and you do all that cool stuff traveling the world with your best friends. You know what I mean? So it's not even like I've seen everything that you could possibly almost see in the world. I mean, at least in the Western world. And it's been great. I mean, I got a chance to see a lot of stuff. Any major city that you can think of, I've probably been there. Like Paris or Madrid or Barcelona or Zagreb or whatever, London. I mean, New York, whatever. And we played there, and so yeah, got to play the Cavern Club once. That was cool. Played CBGB's a bunch of times. Got to play the Roxy in LA a couple times, and
Wow.
so I've had some good luck. Played the Wiltern Theater in LA, and I don't know, lots of famous places, St. Andrews Hall and in Detroit and stuff. So yeah, been a fun ride.
Very, very cool, man. Very cool. Well, I'm glad. I am honored to be doing this show with you because you are like this international superstar.
Oh my goodness, you have incredibly low standards, but incredibly high praise. That is very nice. Thank you.
Ridiculous. All right, but so that we don't get too far off on our tangents, which we can do so easily, the reason I'm wearing this shirt today is because it ties in with the movie that we are going to be discussing today. Do you know that tie-in?
Yes, I believe that Daniel Craig was in the Beatles for a short period of time. Is that right?
Yes, yes. Well, when Paul was killed, when Paul died, they replaced him with Daniel Craig, but a lot of people don't know that. So,
and then there was a brief period of time where Paul McCartney was in the running to be James Bond, which was a wild turn.
And that's why he did. That's why he did Live or Let Die, because he decided he didn't want to be James Bond, and he said, "You know what? I'll just give you this song." So,
I'll give you. Never mind. I was going to do a Paul McCartney impression, but I'm not going to try. So yeah, today we're talking about the movie Glass Onion, Knives Out Mystery, finger quotations, which the director Ryan Johnson hates that thing, by the way. That tag.
I was gonna bring that up too, but I also wanted to make that connection with the Beatles. Yes. If you're not a Beatles fan, there was a song called Glass Onion on the White Album, and it's actually the last song. It's the credit song of this movie. But
yeah, and we'll get to there.
Yes.
But so Glass Onion is a movie that was released in the theaters for about a week, and then it's a Netflix production, and Netflix made this movie. They signed an overall deal with Ryan Johnson after Knives Out came out, and I believe they made a 3-movie deal, including Knives Out, I think. So there'll be at least one more.
Oh, Knives Out is part of the 3-movie deal?
I think. I know that it's a 3-movie deal, so there'll at least be one more Knives Out mystery in the works.
I wasn't aware of that either.
But I think Glass Onion is sort of the flagship Netflix first one. And it played in the theaters for a little bit. My mom actually went and saw it in the theater the week it was there, and she loved it. So suffice it to say, it is a murder mystery movie starring Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc. The bad guy that we need to know about is Edward Norton as Miles Braun, which is sort of like a millionaire imaginary character, kind of in the lines of like Elon Musk. And then we've got Janelle Monáe, who plays 2 main characters, Helen and Andy, twin sisters. It's kind of a twisty plot we would never be able to discuss, but I really do want to know, Todd, without going into it, let's go ahead and not worry about, please be aware we will be spoiling the shit out of this. But what were your impressions of Glass Onion, buddy?
My impressions. Well, let me tell you right off the bat that I'm not really a murder mystery ensemble kind of guy. Like I liked Knives Out. And, my mom used to watch Agatha Christie, movies and all that kind of stuff, and Murder, She Wrote, and, those kind of shows. I never really got into them, though. They're mildly entertaining to me, but I'm a simpleton when it comes to stories, and I can't have a whole lot of characters I got to keep track of because my brain is very limited. So I really enjoyed, I have to say, I really enjoyed Knives Out. I saw it maybe 2 or 3 times in defense of Ryan Johnson, who was, I think, just brutally slaughtered when it came to the movie he came off of prior to this one, which was Star Wars: The Last Jedi. And we can make like a little sub talk about that after our little review if you want. But I I like Ryan Johnson as a writer. I really loved Looper. I really like I like The Last Jedi. There's some things that I don't like about it, but regardless, so it was really nice to see him. I kind of felt like he was so beat up in the press and on social media for Last Jedi, and I thought, man, this guy's never going to make a film again. So when announcing, Ryan Johnson's Knives Out, I thought, oh, good for him. He's now letting people, tear him down. So I went into this with Knives Out with a positive outlook for him, and I thought it was done really well. And it was like he wasn't trying to say, "Look, I can write a good story, or I can do things that aren't Star Wars." He wasn't doing. He didn't care. He just did this movie, and it was so nutty, and I enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't what I was expecting. It was a really, really twisty story, and the way it ends is not at all how I expected. Like, I did not know that character was the one who done it, and I loved it. So going into Glass Onion, I was expecting the same kind of thing. I was on guard looking for, okay, how's he going to play twisty with me here? And it turns out that the one that you suspect is the guy who done it. I mean, it's not obvious, but you just suspect him. I did, at least. So did my son, my 13-year-old son. He suspected that he was the bad guy. And as the movie plays out, guess what? He is. And I didn't feel twisted. I didn't feel like I went down a really twisty path. I mean, there's interesting things that happen in this film. I mean, and the characters are interesting. The scenery is interesting. It's fantastic. I mean, the shots at the end are just amazing at what's going on. But I just wasn't impressed with the story. I'm really disappointed. And I guess if this movie came out after Last Jedi, I would be like, Ryan, hang it up, man. This is not a twisty movie. It's not a very good whodunit. It's more of like, who told you to do this movie? That's what it would be called. Not a whodunit, but a who told you.
But you would have never figured out this whole subplot with the twin.
No. But I knew right off the bat that he was the killer. I mean, did you?
I kind of thought that was sort of the least important part to Ryan Johnson. I think I felt like that was the least important part of the plot to him. I think you're supposed to kind of know what. I think it's more of a why sort of deal was the mystery. Like why there are murders, why these people were, why would he do it? That was kind of more of the thing, I thought.
Well, I don't know. I guess when I go into a whodunit, I do think that it's more of like who committed the crime. And if maybe then I went in with the wrong objective. But
I mean, if you come at it from like just looking at what you got in front of you on paper, I think it's fairly obvious he's the bad guy. They make him to be kind of goofy, but like there's no one else that would really do it. I mean, you've seen all these other characters come from not there, so you kind of know. I mean, to me, it was obvious that he was the killer, or not obvious, but relatively obvious he was the killer. But untangling the puzzle box of why this all went down was more of the point. It was more of a puzzle. It was more of a puzzle box than it was like a whodunit mystery straight up.
Well, I didn't take it that way. I thought that I went in there thinking, okay, we are making it seem like Edward Norton is the bad guy because he's the rich guy, and because him and Janelle, is that her name? Janelle Monáe. Janelle, they had a falling out in the beginning, but yeah, they're not going to make it. They're not going to make it obvious that he literally killed her sister. I mean, are we supposed to be okay with that going in? I thought, okay, we're making it seem like it's that way, but with all these different characters and with all their different, associations with this Janelle character in the past, we're going to find out who the real killer is. That's what I thought was going on in the movie. I mean, yes, there was all these like this reason, this story, that thing, this thing, but I really thought the story was who done it, and I was like, okay, you got me. I'm curious to see who was actually the murderer. That's Edward Norton. So
yeah, I think that we're just coming at it from different ends. Like I sort of thought it was obvious, but so here's another thing about that movie. Well, first of all, I thought there was some. I'm kind of with you, but here's my thing. I'm kind of with you on the Glass Onion, Knives Out, Knives Out, and then Glass Onion thing. Because when I saw Knives Out, I thought, oh, this is like a thing. This is really cool, very cinematic, very But when I saw Glass Onion, and I knew it would be like this, it had that. And I'm not going to use this word. I don't mean this to sound as bad as it sounds, but it had that stink of Netflix movie to it.
Oh,
it just had that. There's like that quality ceiling that Netflix movies generally have a little bit lower of a kind of a. It doesn't feel all the way baked. Like all the performances don't really come together.
Yeah.
All the stuff. It just a little bit of a, like, it reminds me of like Red Notice or something where it's kind of like, kind of good, but kind of not. And I just feel it has that Netflixy kind of, I don't know if it's rushed or whatever Netflix movies do, whatever it is. It just had that kind of vibe to it a little more than the first one, which I thought was pretty lights out.
Which you have to admit, though, with those comments, at least, or maybe you won't admit, like Netflix produced films have a much higher quality than, say, like a standard made for TV movie.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, as far as movie production goes, you can just tell when you see the handful of big, the most recent, like, Netflix movies, that they're just kind of not quite all the way chips in, pushed to the middle of the table, Hollywood quality. And I just kind of feel like part of it's the writing, part of it's the execution. I mean, now they do make great stuff, and they've made some stuff that's like completely lights out. I'm not saying that's all of their stuff is like that, but I just kind of feel like it had that. I just think Glass Onion had that kind of like, if I were to watch that movie and not know it was made by Netflix, I would pretty much be able to guess that it was.
I was going to just ask you that because it's like, I don't know. I don't know if I totally agree with you on that, but that's okay because we can disagree. That is what this is all about. Not always agreeing. So
I think that, like, there were some really good performances. I think Daniel Craig is like a national, worldwide treasure. I just love that guy. I love his character. I think that I would really, though, that's the bottom line of this thing, is I would watch all of these movies because of him.
Yeah, because he's such a 180 character from like James Bond, and he's just great at doing that Hercule Poirot kind of Columbo, sort of like unraveling the problems. He's just really good at it, and he kind of does some of it in real time. Some of it he kind of goes in knowing, and that to me is like a great thing. I thought Janelle Monáe was super good in this. She's been in a lot of really big movies like Moonlight, and I just thought that in this she was really played two parts, and I thought she did it really well. And she has like an intensity to her because she's a musician too. I think she's got that like intensity to her that was pretty cool. So that brings me to the one of the other things is Edward Norton. And Edward Norton in this movie does that Edward Norton thing that he kind of started doing in Primal Fear, which is where he sort of like flips a switch and goes from dopey guy to evil guy. Mm-hmm. And I think he's probably the best in the biz at doing that, when he can just shift gears really quick. Like in Primal Fear with Richard Gere, he plays like this guy who's like accused of a murder, and you think he didn't do it. And then at the very last second, spoiler alert, you find out that he in fact did do it. And he that is a big switch. I mean, switches to, of course I did it, that kind of thing. And he sort of does that here. There's a scene in Glass Onion where he kind of gets cornered as the dopey character, the Miles Braun character kind of gets cornered, and he just sort of flips that switch and is like, you got me. I am a total evil bastard, and it was, I thought it was pretty cool. So Yeah. So, all right. So to give like, we don't really review, we don't put like a star or a rating on it, but I guess what we've asked before, would you see it again? Would you recommend it?
It was fine. I had fun. I keep going to this every time we review a movie. It was fine, but it was good. I mean, my mom really liked it, so if that gives you an idea of the demo, the demographic for it, I thought it was fun. I kind of instantly forgot it after I got done watching it, but it was a fun way to. When it came out on Netflix, it was like negative 30 degrees here, so I couldn't really go anywhere. So it was kind of fun it was good to have something fun to do. Came out at a good time. What do you make? Well, what did you think overall? Just quickly.
Again, it was okay. I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily recommend it to someone because like I said, I had a different. I went into it expecting a different kind of outcome. So, but I mean, it was fun. I mean, it was a fun movie. Yeah, I can say that. But I probably wouldn't see it again, ever. So. What
is your take on the whole Netflix Hollywood, like the whole Netflix movies not being in theaters and kind of like they put it out for like a week as like a stunt, but I mean basically like people are kind of like having funerals for the theater industry, at large. What do you think about that?
I am quite vocal on this subject. Actually, I think movie theaters are going to become very soon more of a thing of nostalgia. And if they're not already there, like the people that go see movies in movie theaters are holding on to this thing that you only see new releases on a big screen. And all right, I have an 85-inch television. So, and a nice surround sound and nice comfortable seats to watch a movie in. And so I personally would much rather watch a film in my living room than at a theater. I'm almost, when COVID happened and apps like HBO Max said, we're going to be the ones that are going to be debuting, movies, before.
We're bringing movies to you at home because you're stuck at home with the rest of the world.
Yeah, and I thought, finally, someone's been listening, I thought, great. This is what I want. I want movies to first run in my house. I don't want to pay $50 to see them like they were first starting to do. Like, I want to see them now. I'm paying for these apps. I want to see them. And I think the theater experience has become filled with a bunch of rude people. People talk. They're on their phone. They're noisy. They crunch their popcorn so loud and they don't care. People are rude. They're not at my house. They're not allowed to be rude when I'm watching a movie in my house. Like, stop. I can go to a movie theater and listen to people talk.
Sounds fun, Todd.
What's that?
Sounds fun.
Yeah. Really.
Getting browbeaten at Todd's house.
Shut up.
I had some popcorn watching a movie. Shut up.
But you can pause it, you can go to the bathroom, all that kind of stuff.
So, I kind of am in the same way. I think there's like a multifaceted thing going on here where you've got the Hollywood studios during lockdown of the pandemic were like, well, we have all these movies. We've got to get into the world and into the culture. So we're going to stream them to you. Now, this is how we're going to short term fix this. We're going to start streaming stuff. And, at the same time, when movies now are back, finger quotations, now that movies are back, the problem I think that they're having is that a lot of people in the older age bracket that would go see something like The Fabelmans or whatever doesn't want to go to a theater. They just want to stay home.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you got a big family, you don't want to take it to a kid's thing because you got to spend how many for a ticket when everyone can just watch it streaming and eat popcorn at home.
The other $50 for a family of four.
At least, man. Yeah. And the other thing that they've got going against them is that the movies that are going into theaters, like the big tentpole movies, in the last 2 years have been trash. There hasn't been any good ones. Yeah. And I don't mean any, but I mean like most of them, and even the reviews are bad. So like if it was like Endgame came out now, people would be like, I'm back. But there hasn't been anything like that, a big event movie that has held up, that's been good. Even that Spider-Man movie that came out was just fine. And now people forgot about it because it's not that great. And it's, well, I like it. It's fine, but no,
Yeah.
but people are still talking about Endgame as one of the best movies of the century, whereas no one talks about that Spider-Man movie. And I just think that they're having an issue of no one wants, you've trained people to stay home and watch your movies, and you're not putting anything in the theaters that's bringing people out.
And it'll be in streaming in 4 weeks, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, why go to the theater and do everything that you're talking about? You know?
The idea being that, like, you know, you have to come for the big experience, but you know, when you have everyone also at the same time is getting bigger TVs, like you said, you know, better stereo systems. So as much as I hate to think, because my childhood was based living in movie theaters. I loved it.
Mine too.
I spent all summer just go to a movie, go to another movie, go see 3 in a day, whatever.
Yep.
But now I just feel like I can knock out 3 new releases. I mean, I think every movie we've talked about on our show, save for the Fablemans, I've streamed, you know, and they're new. They're all, you know.
Yeah, just a quick story on like the theater experience, and I'm not poo-pooing the theater experience as an overall like bad thing, because I think at one time it was a great thing. It was for our younger listeners out there. Movie theaters would hold on to a movie for months and months and months.
Star Wars played in Toledo, or the original one when I was a little kid, for over a year.
I think it was 2 years, actually. Yeah.
There you go.
So, and again, it had, as younger ones, maybe possibly listening to this, movies would travel within a city.
I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. There's nobody younger.
Oh, you're giving me a spoiler.
Yeah.
Movies used to travel within a city. So you'd start off at the big giant screen Cineplex, and then it went down to like the AMCs, and then it went down to the little theater, you know, down at the end of the street. And so a movie could be running for a long time. But now, 4 weeks, from screen to stream, we've got the film. So, and I remember one time, one of my favorite movie experiences, even though, I saw Star Wars and a lot of the big, blockbuster films at the time in the 70s and 80s. One of my all-time favorite experiences was seeing the movie Tremors. And I saw it like at an AMC, and the movie had ran a zillion times at this point, but I saw it in a jam-packed theater for the very first time at an AMC. Never saw it at the Showcase Cinema. It just didn't interest me, but I thought, okay, I'll go see it. There were people screaming and yelling and cheering and laughing, and it was one of the most fun theater experiences I've ever had. And so those days have come and gone.
And I think that's why horror movies still play in theaters. And I don't mean play like we get released. I think that's why they actually have success. Like Nope had success in theaters, I think, because it's more of a communal experience than, now granted, some of these superhero movies supposed to be, but they're just not as good. And, so it's like the horror genre seems to be the one thing that's like getting people into the theaters for at least a short time. And I think that's like hitting on what you said. It's like this communal experience. Everyone's not gathering together to watch, the menu or whatever. It's just not. So I don't know. I don't know if there's ever going to be an answer. I do fear that theaters will eventually be only the place to see Marvel and Star Wars movies, which that may not even be a thing anymore. Are there Star Wars movies? ? I don't know. But so, yeah, I think, it's yet to be determined how things are going to unfold. But I do fear that the theater may go the way of the dodo, as they say, because I don't see a way forward that doesn't include more people just staying home and watching movies at home.
Yeah, because I did see Nope, the movie Nope, in the theater. I think that was the last movie that I saw in the theater. I love Jordan Peele's movies, and that may be one that we should review.
Yes, we should, because I would love to know your thoughts on that movie. That movie to me was like, I don't want to get into it. We're going to get sidetracked, but sure. There's a lot to unpack with that movie.
And that movie, though, what I was getting at is that I think it had some really, really good marketing, to really get you into the theater. And Jordan Peele has had like a nice succession of good films. He's been able to put out some really good products. So I was really expecting a lot of people to go see this movie, and it didn't do that well. I mean, I don't know what the box office numbers were, but I mean, there was a lot of people that still didn't even know what the movie was.
Yeah, and it did better than, I mean, think about this. There's a Steven Spielberg movie out there in the world right now in theaters that has done like $15 million. I mean, that's unreal. That's like the catering budget for a week.
That's obscene.
That's bananas.
That's obscene.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what the movie is, you'd think just putting Spielberg's name on it would sell something. But clearly people are, like you said, waiting to check it out at home or just don't care. So unfortunately, yeah, that's a bummer, but let's move on from there.
Well, wait, one last thing that we kind of said we'd circle back on, and that was the topic of, The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson's Star Wars. What did you think of that? I mean, first of all, what I mentioned was how he was dragged through the mud and all that kind of stuff, and then he came out victorious with Knives Out. But do you remember all that stuff, all the media that talked about?
Of course.
What did you think about it?
Well, okay, so here's the deal. I think that Rian Johnson is super punk rock. And I think his whole thing is very much like burn down the past, as witnessed in Glass Onion by burning the Mona Lisa. I think pretty not too thinly veiled thing there. And I think that is the same kind of like thrust and main idea of The Last Jedi is that burn it. This isn't like, burn the temples, burn everything. Like, you don't have to stick to the dogmas that you're used to and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's what really rubbed people the wrong way about that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But what's funny is that's the only way forward to me to make Star Wars viable was to do it that way. And then you get The Rise of Skywalker, which is just nonsense. Thank you, Tony Gilroy, for, making the best Star Wars thing ever and letting us advance the ball down the field a little bit, as it was passed to you from Rian Johnson, because I think Rian Johnson's Last Jedi idea was perfect. It was like, how do we escape the shackles of the Skywalker wizard family nonsense? Mm-hmm. Not nonsense. I love Star Wars, but sure. I mean, like, and move the ball forward, because all the fans from the original movies are our age, and the kids don't care. They just want to see Star Wars stuff. Kids love the original prequels now. So, so to answer your question, I think that movie's great. I love it. It's really weird. It's got some weird ideas, but I think it was super fun to watch.
I thought I liked the movie too. I mean, in repeated viewings, I've really got to appreciate the genius writing that Rian Johnson did. I mean, he brought up a thought, kind of a sketchy thought in the beginning of the movie, and then it really kind of like solidifies at the end. And literally everything that he kind of brought up was this huge bridge that really made sense. He kind of literally bookended his ideas in that film. And like you said, he did open up the door for them to do different things rather than the typical Skywalker lightsabers, the Force only, it's only got so much you can do with. That's one thing that have said about Star Wars. As much as I love it, it's very limited in what goes on in a story, and it needs to be opened up. So yes, I mean, a show like Andor, even Mandalorian opens up different directions for the Star Wars universe to kind of live and breathe. And I thought Rian Johnson did really well, but it was not taken well. They didn't like the idea of Luke Skywalker dying, and Luke Skywalker looks wimpy, and it's like, it was revealed later. He did it very stealthily. I don't know if you saw this, but all the ideas that were brought up in that film were not his. They were taken from manuscripts that Lucas had put together. And so but you can't tell people that, it's like, these are ideas that Lucas
Star Killer concocted. This was back in the Star Killer days. Yeah. And they just, I think Star Wars fans are some of the worst
fans out there because they're just not very fair. They like to bicker and complain about every freaking thing on the planet. They didn't like they didn't like the prequels. They George Lucas killed my childhood. And then when we came over to the sequel trilogy, it's like, oh yay, J.J. Abrams is saving the thing. And then for 3 or 4 seconds, everybody was happy with Star Wars: The New Awakens. And then the trolls come out and start tearing it apart and killing it and ripping it. It's just
A New Hope rehashed.
Yeah. And then they say, oh, Kathleen Kennedy killed Star Wars and Disney killed Star Wars. And before that, it was Jar Jar killed Star Wars. And I mean, it just doesn't freaking end with Star Wars fans. I am a huge Star Wars fan, and I love this world that still exists after 40 some years. I mean, I cannot believe that Star Wars is still a viable commodity and it's relevant and people are talking about it. And my 13-year-old and my granddaughter, I do have a granddaughter. She even likes aspects of Star Wars, and to think all these generations kind of have come together, and it's one thing that we all can kind of sit down and enjoy is a Star Wars show or movie or whatever. And I don't love everything Star Wars. I don't like any of the cartoons and everything. But I love that there's something for everybody out there. And as much as people hated the prequels that when they came out, they love them now.
They're back to being loved again.
Yeah, they love them, and they're doing the same hate for the sequels that they did the prequels. And you know what? There's going to be people that are going to wrap their arms around the sequels, and they're going to love them, and they're going to make a big deal about them later. And that's okay. Rise of Skywalker, not my favorite, but it's a fun film.
No, it's not a fun film. It is a slog. It is terrible. I like
it, but
my goodness,
the story is a mess. The story is a mess.
Hashtag not my Star Wars.
Oh, great. There you go. Get off my lawn. We should do
a Star Wars discussion in general, the state of the union of Star Wars.
We'll table this for now because I like putting up the dukes on this. And then, don't get me wrong, I'm not like the hugest. I even hate the title of the film, Rise of Skywalker. It's the dumbest name to give.
So
any.
Let me just say this, when I saw that movie, I felt so. I don't want to say betrayed because I'm not that. Taking it that personally, but I was just like, what the hell? Is that the last thing? And that is the last movie that's been in theaters, Star Wars stuff. I mean, is there going to even be another one? Because they've clearly shifted to television. There's still
rumors. There's still rumors of a Rian Johnson trilogy. And it's still out there.
I would happily take that, but we'll see.
I would too, despite I know it's going to be like the biggest fight in the world, but I would take it too.
Maybe and maybe not though, because I feel like you said, history and Star Wars fans can be terrible, but they're also very short memory span. So they'll be like, I hate the prequels. Oh, I love the prequels. Okay, what's going on there? I hate Rogue One. I love Rogue One. It's like, okay.
I don't understand. I hate Solo. And then Solo is one of the greatest movies. I love Solo myself.
Me too.
I think Solo
that was great.
Great film. But let's table that discussion because that sounds like something we should organize and orchestrate and really have a nice discussion. A great Star Wars episode.
All right. So, it's time for me to head out to my corner here, sir. So I'm going to get out of my corner here real quick and get back to the world of television where I belong, and talk to you about a show I was tipped off to by another podcast that I love. And I know we always love to talk about other shows on our show, but this show is a show on Epix, and it's a co-pro with the BBC.
Okay.
It's called SAS Rogue Heroes. Dude, it is the greatest television show I can say without hyperbole, it is the greatest television show I have ever seen in my entire life.
Why? Now, because you did your top 5 shows a couple episodes ago, and how does this differ from that? What's so great about this?
So imagine if.
What's it called again? I want to look it up while you're talking about it.
SAS Rogue Heroes. And basically, the plot of the show, it's based on real events and real people. One of them being David Sterling, who the character, the actual human being, was named David Sterling, played by Connor Swindles. The idea of the show is that in World War II, the English army was in Africa protecting the Suez Canal from the Nazis, because if the Nazis got the Suez Canal, they would get Africa. And if they got Africa, the world was over, as far as we know it, without Nazis taking over. So there's a lot of movies centered, and a lot of old movies centered around like Africa and like Morocco and all that stuff during World War II. So it's basically the idea of the formation of the SAS, the Special Air Service, and how it came to be. And it's all based on real stuff. The characters, the historic figures are David Sterling, Jock Lewis, and Patty Main, played by Connor Swindles, Alfie Allen from Game of Thrones, as you may know him. Yeah. And I'm Jack O'Connell, who I think Jack O'Connell is amazing. I love this guy so much. If you ever saw Dark Water, North Water, sorry, he's amazing. But so this show rules. Imagine if you took Inglorious Bastards and mixed it with Bridge Over the River Kwai or something. It's super stylized, pretty historically accurate, very very raw, lots of kind of intense violence, kind of not sugarcoating the war at all. A lot of boozing, a lot of carousing. It's so good because it's just these guys causing havoc against the Nazis all over the deserts, kind of running away from Rommel and blowing up his stuff. And it's super stylized with lots of graphics that are really cool. The graphics will pop up these stencils will come up and explain who the characters are. Oh. And I love it. It's just great. It's a 6-part season, and I believe there's going to be another one. But I really think everyone who's into any kind of Tarantino-esque historical stuff would completely eat this stuff up. The hard part about it is it's on Epix, which no one knows if they have or not. Yeah. And no one knows, it's kind of hard to figure out. I just downloaded the Epix app and got it, but it's great. Highly recommend. And I think Connor Swindles, who's kind of the main star of it, pretty unfamiliar to most people, is super great leading man. So I really, really like it a lot. The sound design is amazing. The costume design is lights out, but the acting is what really carries it. Because based on a real story, the plot just literally sells itself. So super fascinating. If you like any kind of those World War II movies mixed with the kind of a Tarantino style, I think people would dig SAS Rogue Heroes.
Okay. Wow. You make it sound very compelling, but you make all your TV shows sound very compelling.
It's great. And I watch good stuff, man.
I can't keep up with all the number of shows that you like. I don't know how you do it.
Well, back to our discussion. I watch everything on my laptop and my iPad. So, all right. Well, that's how the weather is in my neighborhood. What's happening on your corner, homie?
All right. Well, on my corner this week, I thought I'd do something a little different we haven't done yet. I thought you did a top 5 last couple podcasts ago about your top 5 TV shows. I thought I would do a top 5, but it's going to be an unusual one. It's going to be top 5 favorite movie taglines.
Oh man. Okay. All right. So a bunch just jumped in my head.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you a couple of runners up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the tagline, and then You tell me. You try to guess and see if you remember what it's from. So
okay,
I have two.
All right, this will be good.
I have two runner-ups. One,
I've got some for you as well. Just popped in my head.
right.
So let's go.
Okay, but I get to go first. I get to do my top 5. Then you.
Yes,
can,
this is your thing.
Yeah,
this is your
all right.
corner.
So,
I'm just visiting.
This one may be a little easy, but I think it's a really cool tagline. But again, it's a runner-up. An adventure 65 million years in the making.
Is that Jurassic Park?
Yes, the original one.
It's
a nice leading tagline. You know, it's like, I remember when that movie came out, all you had was the dinosaur skull and you knew nothing about it. They were very good at not. Today's teasers and trailers are horrible. They give you everything, and like, you know what the movie is, you know who the bad guy is, you know how it ends.
Yeah, it's like every preview is like a super cut of the movie.
Terrible.
And it's like it's done. Yeah, I get you.
When those trailers came out, they gave you very, very little, and I loved it. So another one is whoever wins, we lose.
Is that Independence Day?
No, nope.
Damn,
That's a good guess though.
What is it?
Alien versus Predator. Not a very good movie, but the tagline is so good. It's so like, wow, what does that mean? And that's one thing I actually don't like about the film, is because there's no, you don't know who to root for. You know, it's like,
that movie is straight up like dumb popcorn. You're just wasting
you
your time,
can't
but it's
think
fun.
about it. You just, So, all right. So starting with number 5, those were the runner-ups. Number 5, be afraid, be very afraid.
Damn, is that Halloween?
No.
I know it, but I can't. What is it?
The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
Damn it! Yes.
That's a line that he says in the movie, and I think it's a really great tagline. I mean, without knowing the movie, be afraid, be very afraid. That's
good hook.
That's scary. So, all right, this is going to be an easy one for me and you. You will believe a man can fly.
Is it Superman?
Yeah, the original Superman. Yeah. Such a good, simple, and what I liked about it was it was actually focusing on the special effects. You know, that tagline wasn't like helping you draw attention to the story. It was say, you're going to be blown away by our special effects. I think it's kind of unique because that's unusual.
That might be the prototypical like superhero movie, but anyway, go ahead.
It is, no doubt. We Are Not Alone.
That is Close Encounters.
Yes. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That combined with the poster that they had, it was the street with kind of like the foggy light at the end of the street, which has nothing to do with the film whatsoever.
I really know.
But it was very mysterious looking. And that poster, along with that tagline, said, what are we... What is this film about?
Let's digress real quick, and we don't have to go too far. You are a maniac for that movie, and you even went and like searched out spots of that movie, haven't you?
I have visited almost every movie location for that film. Yes,
that is the greatest. That is why that's why I'm proud to call you a friend. That is awesome.
That I can go into sometimes. I love that movie so much.
Hell yeah.
It's and it was almost like a religious experience going up to Roy Neary's home. I got very emotional. It was like very it was so cool. And little Barry and Julian that lived in that house.
Toys.
Very, very, very emotional. Kind of weird, but okay. This is always a good one, because this stumps a lot of people. Are you ready?
Go.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back into the water.
Is it Jaws?
No.
Is it Piranha?
No.
I don't know.
You were close. It's Jaws 2. That's what's so... It's Jaws 2, though. Everyone thinks it's Jaws, and it sounds like it would be.
I guess you wouldn't really think it's safe to get back in the water if you hadn't seen the first Jaws yet. So that makes sense.
Yeah. I just always thought
that's a good hook, though.
It's great, because
No
it's
pun
like...
intended.
Because I don't even remember... What was the one for Jaws? It was like... I don't think it even had
it was in space. No one can hear you scream.
That's what it is. No. So that is actually my last one.
Damn it.
In space, no one can hear you scream. The greatest tagline of all time. If not, that line itself sends chills down your spine without even seeing the movie. That image of being in space and screaming and no one can hear you. The movie, of course, is...
That would be E.T. No, it's Wally.
Wow, we're going for the comedy. We're going for the comedy circuit on this one.
It is, yes. It's probably my favorite. Might be my favorite horror movie. It is Alien.
Alien, and I never saw Alien in the theater when I was a kid, but I got to see it for its 40th anniversary during COVID. Dude, I've seen that movie probably as much as I've seen Star Wars. And in the theater, I noticed things I had never seen before. It was so great.
The set design of that movie, I've never seen a movie that gives you more claustrophobia and angst. And like, everything about that movie is brilliant. And that brings up another interesting topic of a lot of people don't consider that a horror movie. They consider it a sci-fi classic or whatever, but
no, it's a horror movie. It actually had the tagline when they re-released it as I think the greatest horror movie ever made, and I believe that because it has that perfect dark ride mentality. You go into this movie and you have no idea what you're going to see. It turns here, it turns there. You don't know what's around the corner. It's a monster in a house, right? And you don't know where it is. And the house is dark and
in space and like the size of 4 phone booths.
And you don't know what it is. I remember when I was a kid, the first time I saw it was on Showtime. So we didn't see it in the theater, but we saw it on Showtime. And when it came, really? Yeah. And when it came out, or when I was watching it, I was so petrified, even though I knew the whole story. I had bought Cracked magazine. Remember Cracked magazine? It had like I had a guide on how you can get through the movie without grossing yourself out. You know, it's a funny thing, but I knew the whole story from this Cracked magazine, but I still loved it. I loved everything about it. It just felt so sterile at times, and then the dripping waters in like the kind of the hangar area, and the planet, of course, and just everything about that film is just so eerie and creepy, and I love it. I think it's one of the best horror movies in my little limited world of horror movies. So,
well, cool corner, man. That was great.
It was fun.
So that wraps it up for this episode of the Media Tavern. Great job, buddy. I think next week, let's...
No. Let's not tell them what we're doing next week. Okay. Yeah, let's... I don't know. That's my thought. Let's just let them tune in. I mean, because I think they'll love it.
All right, man. Well, that sounds good to me. And for Todd Stanton, I'm Eric Oblander, and we'll see you next time in the Media Tavern, y'all. Thanks for stopping in.
Thanks again.